Hey guys, and welcome back. So this is day 3 now of completing the square. And we are on here, page 20. Okay, so I actually want to take a look at question number 22 first. So we have the method of completing the square was used to solve this equation. Which equation is a correct step when used to solve by using this method? Okay, again, this is another Regents question. Now, you guys have to remember when we complete the square, okay, do you remember what I said about the a value? What does this a value have to be to complete the square? It has to be 1. So to get rid of this 2, we're going to divide everything out by the GCF. Everything. So the GCF here was 2. We're dividing everything out by the GCF. Okay, so I'll be left with x squared minus 6x. Oops, I forgot my x here. Plus 3 equals 0. Now we need to complete the square. So I'm going to make some room here. We need to complete the square. So we need to draw a square. Now, the first thing that we should be doing is bringing over the constant. Remember, the constant needs to be on the other side. So now I have x squared minus 6x plus blank. We got to fill in what that's going to be. Is equal to negative 3 plus blank. We'll fill in whatever that is as well. And we're going to come up with what this is. Okay? So, to complete the square, you got to draw yourself a square, guys. So here we go. We have the b term. Okay, so I'm having this b term. Half of 6 is 3. So I'll have x minus 3, because this is actually negative 6. So half of negative 6 is negative 3. So I have x minus 3 and x minus 3. Okay, x times x, that's x squared. X times negative 3, that's negative 3x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Okay, so if I were to write out all of these terms, so let's write that out. We have x squared minus 6x, because I'm combining my like terms, plus 9. Remember, your c value is that bottom right-hand corner. So what are we missing? We're missing the 9 on both sides. So I have a plus 9 here and a plus 9 here. Now, I'm going to clean this up a little bit so that this makes a little bit more sense. So I would pause the video here and make sure this is all written down because I'm going to erase it. Okay, so we should be good up until here. So now what we're going to do next is we can rewrite this entire trinomial as the product of two binomials. So this trinomial here, the one I'm highlighting over in blue, is the product of x minus 3 times x minus 3. So let's write this out. We have x squared minus 6x plus 9 is equivalent to x minus 3 times x minus 3, which is equal to 6. Okay. X minus 3 times x minus 3 is just x minus 3 squared. We have 2 copies of this, hence the 2. Okay, and this equals 6. And the only answer choice that looks like this is number 1. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Now, we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about vertex form. Now, we should remember vertex form. I taught you guys this. Where what's inside the parentheses is either moving left or right. Okay? And what's outside the parentheses is moving up or down. So, in this situation, remember, you do the opposite of what you would think for the parentheses. So the opposite of subtraction would be addition. So we're going to the right by h. Okay, so you're going to the right by h. And this plus k here means we're moving up by k. Up by k. Which means my vertex is going to be h comma k. Because I went right by h, up by k. All right, that's really important. All right, so now for 23, so let's take a look at this question. What would be the vertex of the quadratic equation? Okay, so the vertex for this quadratic equation, well, inside the parentheses, that means we're moving left and right. So this is going to be right by 3. And here I have a plus 2 on the outside, so that means up by 2. So that means our vertex is right 3, so x is moving to the right by 3, and y is moving up by 2. Okay, why don't you guys pause the video here and give letter B a try. All right, hopefully this is what you got for your vertex. This is going to the left by 1. We're doing the opposite of what you would think for inside parentheses. Parentheses move left and right. Okay, parentheses move left and right. And outside the parentheses, you follow the sign. So this is going down by 4. Okay, so let's actually do some practice with like, why are we bringing back vertex form? This form here, guys, I would star this, circle this. We are going to be now using this quite a bit. Okay, and we're going to be using completing the square while we do it. All right, so let's flip over to the next page. This is page 21, question 24. So let's take a look. So we have Jerry was given the function x squared plus 12x plus 16, and he was asked to write it in vertex form by completing the square. These were the steps shown. So he wrote out the first equation. This is a quadratic because of the x squared. Okay, we're completing the square for a quadratic. And look at his next step. What do you notice differently now than what we've done in the past? So in his next step, he has a plus 36, then a minus 36. Okay, so I'm going to actually model this for you guys as to where this is coming from. There are several ways you can complete the square. Okay, I showed you one way where you can add that same number on both sides of that equal sign. Or what we can do now is if I add it to one side of the equal sign and I'm going to subtract it on the same side, really this cancels out to a value of 0. Like I haven't changed anything. Okay, so bear with me here. I'm going to go through this example. So I'll write that over here on the side. So we have g of x. So I have g of x equals x squared plus 12x plus 16. Okay, now, in order for us to solve this by completing the square in vertex form, this is just a little different, but nothing crazy. Instead of adding to both sides of the equal sign, we're going to add and subtract on the same side of the equal sign. So I'll write that down. Okay, so I would write that down. I wrote that here for you. Add and subtract on the same side of the equal sign. So I'm going to write my next step. I have g of x equals x squared plus 12x plus blank, make some room, plus 16. Now, if I'm going to add by something on the same side of the equal sign, well, I better subtract it on the same side of the equal sign. Okay, so again, if I'm adding to one side of the equal sign, I have to also subtract on the same side. Again, because we're dealing with the exact same side of the equal sign. So now we have to complete this square. Remember, have the b term. So have this b term. So we're going to take half of 12. And I'm going to write my square on the side. We're completing the square. I'll have x plus 6, and x plus 6. You have x squared plus 6x plus 6x plus 36. Okay, we've done these a bunch of times now. Remember, this is your c value right here. That's the missing number. That's the number that belongs here and also here. Because remember, if I add to one side of the equal sign, I better also be subtracting on that same exact side. That really, it's just canceling it out. Okay. Now, the next thing we need to do is express this trinomial as a product of two binomials. So this trinomial here, this x squared plus 12x plus 36, that's really, okay, and I'll highlight that over here, that's really the product of x plus 6 times x plus 6. Because, guys, when we multiplied them, we got this entire piece. Everything here, and I'll pick a different color. Let's go with the black, okay? That's everything here. So when I multiplied my two binomials, so when I multiplied the x plus 6 and the x plus 6, we ended up getting this right here. Okay, so let's write that out. We had x plus 6 times x plus 6 plus this entire quantity. So 16 minus 36 is negative 20. Let's just keep writing. This x plus 6 times x plus this, there's two of them. So remember, I can write this as x plus 6 squared. And now bring down the minus 20. This is in vertex form, guys. What's missing here and here, okay, that's our x plus 6 and our x minus 20. And I already have that minus here in the middle. So the vertex, remember, opposite of what's inside the parentheses. So that means we're going left by 6 and follow the sign when you're outside the parentheses down by 20. So there's my vertex. I'll write that cleaner. Negative 6, negative 20. All right, let's do some more practice here. All right, so let's take a look at question 25 and 26. So 25 and 26. Again, we're just getting more practice here. So for 25, given this quadratic equation, again, it's a quadratic because of the x squared. That's what makes it quadratic. Again, you guys got to know that. The x squared. We want to write this in vertex form by completing the square. So vertex form means add and subtract on the same side of that equal sign. Okay? All right, so let's get started. First thing that we should check is the leading coefficient, does it have a value of 1 out front? And this does. So we're good. We can get started with this. So I have h of x equals x squared plus 2x plus blank. We got to fill it in. Plus 3 minus. Again, if I'm adding to one side of the equal sign, I got to subtract it out also on the same side of that equal sign. Okay, well, just to cut to a shortcut, if you haven't already noticed, when we complete the square, you always have a quantity being squared here, guys. We have the b term, so I'll have x plus 1, and then we end up squaring this term. 1 plus 1, 1 times 1 is just 1, and we're adding 1 to this box and this box. So 3 minus 1, that just leaves us with plus 2. So there you have it. This is in vertex form. And now we just need to come up with what the vertex actually is. So this means we're going left by 1. So I have negative 1, comma. This is going up by 2. So negative 1, comma 2. That's my vertex. Okay? All right, let's give question 26 a look. All right, so again, we're completing the square and finding the vertex. So vertex form, that should be a hint. If I want the vertex, get it in vertex form by completing the square. It's a quadratic. You've got that x squared. Okay? All right, so I'll write out my first line. We have f of x equals x squared plus 4x plus fill in the blank plus 10 minus the fill in the blank. Because again, if we add to one side of the equal sign, you better also be subtracting out on the same side of the equal sign. Okay. All right, so if you guys remember, again, the shortcut to this is if we're rewriting this trinomial as a product of two binomials, so it's going to be squared. We have the b term, so half of 4 is 2, and then we square 2. So 2 squared is 4. Okay, so I'll repeat that one more time. Okay, so one more time. The shortcut to this is, remember, we're rewriting a trinomial as a product of two binomials. The x comes out front, and we're halving the b term, and then square this value. So 2 squared is 4. So if I add 4 here, I better be subtracting 4 here. Okay? And now I'm just going to combine like terms. So we took care of this. This is all taken care of now. This x squared plus 4x plus 4 is the equivalent to this binomial product. Okay? And I'm just going to combine my like terms. 10 minus 4 is plus 6. So I have f of x equals the following. I'll clean this up. F of x equals x plus 2 squared plus 6. My vertex is going to be -2, +6. Okay? Again, guys, if you have any questions, I will be on Zoom later today. Today is Thursday. Okay, I'll be on it at 12 o'clock as well as 1 o'clock to go over any questions you guys have. All right, so I'm going to flip over to the next page. We're going to take a look at page 22. Just more practice with this, guys. All right, so if we take a look at question 28, okay, this is on page 22, question 28, we have Lila complete the square in order to find the minimum. She must write it in its general form. Okay, so there's vertex form. And that should make sense. If you're finding the vertex, well, the vertex is either a maximum or a minimum. And here, in this case, it's a minimum. We want to know what is the value for a for this function f of x. Okay, and this was from the August 2015 Regents. All right, well, let's get started. We have f of x equals x squared minus 12x plus blank plus 7 minus blank. We want it in vertex form. This is vertex form here. Okay. All right. We have to rewrite this trinomial as the product of two binomials. The way we get the values that belong inside the parentheses, again, we have the b term. Half of -12 is -6. And then we square this value. So now I'm going to square 6. 6 squared is 36. So if I add 36 here, I'm also subtracting 36 here. Okay? And we're just combining like terms. 7 minus 36 is -29. And here we have it. This is vertex form. Okay, so let's just write this a little bit nicer. We have f of x equals x minus 6 squared minus 29. So if the question asked for the actual vertex, well, the vertex would just be 6, -29. But that's not what the question's asking. It's saying what value of a belongs here. What value of a? Be careful. Notice how it's written as x minus, and then there is a. So a comes after the minus symbol. So a is just 6. Answer choice 1. All right, so I'm going to walk you guys through question 29. This one is definitely more challenging, okay? So if you don't get it at first, don't worry. Again, I'll do more questions like this with you guys over FaceTime for those of you that requested it. And then I'm going to ask you guys to do question 30 totally on your own here in this packet. And of course, I'll provide the solutions, okay? All right, so for question 29, we have the following equation can be written in vertex form as which of the following? Okay, and again, this is another Regents question. Now, you guys got to remember, in order for us to complete the square in vertex form, you have to recognize when I say vertex form, that's synonymous with using complete the square method. Okay, so if I say vertex form, you should be thinking complete the square method. Okay? You have to remember, what does that a value have to be in order for us to complete the square? What does a need to equal to complete the square? It's got to be 1. And in this situation, it's not. It's 3. Well, we got to think. How do I get rid of that 3? Well, let's write out our work down here. I just rewrote out the problem. Now, again, this is a little bit more challenging. You got to get this number out front to be 1. So the only way to do that is if I divide everything by 3. Divide it all by 3. Notice how this looks a little funky. You're not used to seeing f of x over 3, but it's all good. We're going to leave it like that. Okay, these cancel. So I have f of x all over 3 is equal to x squared plus 4x plus that blank term plus 11 over 3 minus the blank term. Okay, all right. We got to complete the square. Remember, it's that quantity squared. Have the b term. Half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. If I add 4 here, I better be subtracting 4 here. Okay? And now, you guys have calculators. What's 11 thirds minus 4? You should be using that alpha y equals button. So 11 thirds minus 4 is negative 1/3. So I'll write that here. This is minus 1/3. And this all equals that f of x over 3. Okay. All right, now, this doesn't look right though, because all the answer choices have f of x. There's no f of x over 3. All the answer choices have f of x. So, we have to get rid of this 3 in the denominator. To get rid of this 3 in the denominator, we are going to multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1/3 is 3. So we're going to multiply everything by 3. Everything is getting multiplied by 3. Okay. All right, now I'm going to write this a little bit cleaner, so just give me a second. All right, so now we can clean this up. So what our line looked like over here was f of x over 3 is equal to x plus 2 squared minus 1/3. That's what we had. We said we're going to multiply everything by the reciprocal, so everything is getting multiplied by 3. Okay? In the end, what I'm left with is now f of x equals 3 times x plus 2 squared minus 1. And the only answer choice that this satisfies is answer choice 3. Okay? All right, like I said, I want you guys to give question 30 a try on your own. So I would pause the video here and try this one by yourself first. Okay? All right, and there you have it. There is your solution to question 30. All right, guys, I hope you found this video helpful. Again, tune in later for our little Zoom session to go over some of this stuff. Hopefully you found this helpful. Again, guys, you can always rewind, go back, replay any part of this that you would like to see again. But this concludes our Day 3 lesson now on completing the square and writing out in vertex form. So tomorrow we're going to be looking at something different, okay? All right, stay tuned.